Y'all get ready?
Yes, you get ready.
If you want the latest news in the streets, join us and tune in for the tea. Breaking news with integrity. So tell your friends and your family. It's the Lovelyti TV show, bringing you good tea and good vibes. It's the Lovelyti TV show. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Just to let y'all know that the money's not moneying. Did y'all see that Adam 22 T? Not to be messy, but he says No Jumper's going broke. And he's starting I guess a Patreon or a GoFundMe, one of the two. Let's watch a little bit of Adam talking about No Jumper going broke. That's how you know it's getting real in this economy.
So there's something that I've been hiding from you guys. No Jumper is going broke. I know that might sound crazy. Between both of our YouTube channels last month, we got over 25 million views. We're doing well on Facebook and Snapchat. We employ quite a few of the hottest content creators on the West Coast, and we pump
You literally employ gangbangers who tell on themselves, but carry on.
out an insane amount of content on a weekly basis. How could we be going broke? Well, let's start here. We expanded too much during COVID at just about the exact moment that our revenue streams all took a hit. We hired a whole bunch of editors and other employees, and we bought a huge office building that cost us almost $4 million, thinking that the growth that we were experiencing during the pandemic was going to continue. And unfortunately, that did not happen. Our YouTube numbers, which had doubled or even tripled, gradually returned to normal. Our Snapchat and Facebook numbers, which had exploded during COVID, sometimes even hitting 6 figures a month, shrank by about 80% or more. Our Patreon, which was absolutely killing it for a year or two when we were doing uncensored, aka nude interviews with up-and-coming superstars like Kazumi and Sky Bree, fell off quite a bit with the launch of Plug Talk and a decreased interest in seeing us interview stars. In addition to that,
Yeah, because that gets old. We can only hear about these girls sucking dick and taking it up the ass for so long. It gets old. So, of course, it was interesting at first to some guys, but eventually, it gets old. You can only try to keep people entertained with sex workers for so long. And I think what else messed up his platform was him allowing his wife, Lena the Plug, to get fucked by that big dick, by that big peen. That big peen black man. I think that definitely turned a lot of folks off. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're like, this is insane. Like, you're just a cluck. I remember like people like just going in on him on Twitter about that.
You might recall that the channel took quite a hit when approximately 8 of our hosts left the platform in March of 2023. Although we've definitely largely recovered and managed to build up a very healthy roster of talent since then, that certainly took a toll on our business for a while as well. All that stuff hurt the business, but we were still solidly profitable. That is, until the last few months, where we experienced 2 major L's that we never could have seen coming. First, we lost the No Jumper Instagram. After almost 10 years of building it up and essentially no strikes on our account, we got taken down one day and we still have absolutely no idea why. We've had no luck getting it back despite being in contact with what seems like every Instagram recovery guy on the face of the planet. We were bringing in a very
interesting. Ain't that what your white buddy Fed TV does? He goes around striking black Instagram people and taking down their Instagram channels. So, yeah, welcome to the club. I lost mine too, thanks to your little white friend. So I guess they don't have their Instagram page now. They had to rebuild just like I had to rebuild. Black people go through it all the time. Welcome to the club.
very solid amount of cash monthly that was keeping us afloat via selling sponsored posts on the account. And that mostly vanished overnight. And while we've been growing the new No Jumper LA account up ever since and managing to sell sponsored collab posts using my Instagram and the No Jumper LA account, DM or email if interested, we aren't making anywhere near as much from Instagram now. Side note, if you're a Meta rep, please DM me. I would love to speak to anyone who could help with this. And second, in addition to that, we have been hit with a bullshit lawsuit from a former employee. Now, essentially everything in this lawsuit is completely fictional, and every lawyer that I've spoken to about it has described this as basically an extortion attempt, but it's still cost us a ton of money already, and it's expected to cost us many hundreds of thousands of dollars to see this through to completion. It's insane to me that a person that we did so much for can just invent some grievances out of thin air and cost us this much money as a result. This person has literally lost every single friend that he used to have when he worked at No Jumper. His streaming career has completely tanked, and he even got kicked off the podcast that he left No Jumper to start. But somehow, that's our reality, and we have to fight this rather than just give in to this piece of shit. So as a result of all these circumstances, we are making some changes. Over the last few months, we laid off multiple employees in an attempt to reduce our expenses as much as possible.
Not No Jumper having corporate layoffs. You can't make this shit up. You cannot, not No Jumper laying people off. And let's also not forget that some of your employees got, whisked away by the feds. This is a mess.
We closed down our store on Melrose, and we're in the early stages of selling our current warehouse and moving into a smaller space. To be honest, aside from the layoffs, which sucked, I'm pretty happy about a lot of these changes. I've realized that I should have paid more attention to DJ Vlad and kept my overhead as low as possible, particularly in terms of staff and location. I'm confident that once we get the building sold, we'll be in a pretty solid financial position again as a business. Oh, and I also just want to note that I am talking about No Jumper as a business. I've got another business in the form of Plug Talk, and I've got a pretty decent investment portfolio on a personal level. I mean, shit, I'm not $2 million in debt, and I never had to file for bankruptcy like T-Rell. But I honestly spend pretty much all of my time trying to create as much content as possible with No Jumper, and I can't really justify doing so unless the fundamentals of the business make sense. It was a big decision to share this stuff with you guys, but at a certain point I realized that I've been honest with the world about just about everything in my life over the years, and it felt wrong to keep all this stuff that we've been dealing with in secret. So I know what you're thinking. What can you do to help? Well, I do have some ideas.
Objection. I wasn't thinking shit. That thought did not come across my mind. But let's see what we can do to help Adam, in case y'all care.
Which I'll sort into 3 categories here: free, cheap, and generous. Free. Obviously, I'm infinitely thankful to anyone who watches our content at all, follows us on the @NoJumperLA Instagram, and in particular, those of you who drop likes and comments on our videos and Instagram posts. In the long run, that stuff is super helpful. Cheap. We are really trying to get serious about embracing our members here on YouTube. For $5 a month, we've got a ton of awesome benefits, including being able to watch all of our interviews free of censorship and bleeped words before they're released to the public. Members only chat for all of our live stream content, and we're just going to be prioritizing a lot of our most requested content and trying to do that live for members only. So for any of you who are down to spend $5 a month to help support the business, we're just going to try to keep adding more and more stuff to make that an easy decision for you guys who are down to support. And for those of you who have more money to spend, we're introducing a mega premium $100 tier to our memberships that will get your name added to the end of all our videos, and it will also get you consistent advice and opinions on your music submissions with 1 free submission per month and discounted additional songs. Basically, we're just trying to do as much as possible for anybody who's down to join this tier.
That's a big ass jump from $5 to $100. Again, child, businesses go through ebbs and flows, so I'm not necessarily judging, but it's very funny how the mighty, a lot of these mighty people on social media have fallen. How they look down at people who just, stream from the comfort of our home. We're not, everybody want to be a boss and, have all these employees and staff. But I've said this before in the past. What kind of boss do you want to be? You got to understand, like, the more people you bring on, the more money you have to spend out. And then when you have staff, you know what I'm saying, it ends up, depending on the energy, you figure he's dealing with gangbangers and people ain't never really had nothing and who are looking for fame. They have no loyalty to him, so it's just caused him, like, a lot of headache at this point. But he's not the only one. There's a lot of influencers, like I said a few months ago, everybody's trying to, do live events and live shows and, fish fries. I said, damn, the money is not moneying. But the difference is a lot of these people were very arrogant at one point in time. So it makes it hard for me to feel bad for them, because I believe he bought his wife like a neon green Lambo not too long ago. I think after the porn scene, that went viral. Well, take the Lambo back. Sometimes you have to look at your circumstances and see where you need to pull back on spending money. Because the economy is not, it's not economy. And what people don't understand, like I said earlier, there's a trickle down effect. So if the people who watch us on social media, if you guys are struggling and you guys don't have money or you're laid off, you're not able to spend additional money on a YouTube membership or on a super chat. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you don't live above your means. That's why you don't do stuff above your means. You got to do things within your means because you just never know. That's why I always push savings. Like even the people that I do the trips with, they were asking me, did I want to do a trip this year, with my subscribers like we did last year, how we went to Puerto Rico, turned up, had a good time. They want me to do another influencer trip. And I had to tell her, as much as I want to do a trip, I said, for me, it wouldn't feel right in my spirit to bring that to my audience and say, hey, who wants to go on a trip with me this year with everything going on in the economy? I wouldn't feel right as a person asking y'all to come up with $3,000 to go on a trip. Last year, the situation was better. People had it. You were able to do like a monthly payment till you paid it up. And we had a good time. We was out there for like a week. But I just feel like looking around, the writing is on the wall. How dare I, as an influencer, try to put on a group trip? So it's like you have to understand what is going on in the world. And I think that a lot of these influencers live, and I'm not saying Adam 22 per se, I'm just saying in general, they live in this bubble and they don't understand that the same people watching you, those are your customers. So if your customers are, struggling right now because the tariffs are hitting them, or, somebody's husband is laid off and now everything is on the wife, well, now they're stressed, they're going through it. They don't have time to sit there and view your content like that because they're busy throughout the day putting in job applications and they're on LinkedIn. So they're not able to consume your content, which means the views are going down, so it affects all of us. That's why I say, it's all one big circle. That's why I'm very grateful the fact that, I can live stream and people send super chats and people support me. Back in the day when I first started my membership, my Patreon, I got clowned. I was told you need to get a real job. And I'm like, I do have a job. That was when I lived in LA. I'm working on set, but YouTube demonetized all our videos. We had to resubmit them. So I'm asking for a little bit of help, and people did. People helped, and I really, really appreciated that. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, you also have to understand like the times that we're living in. You might get people to give you $5, but I wouldn't even give $100 a month. That's insane. That's a real bill in my house. That's why I told people I would, as much as I put into my Discord and it's become a family and I do a lot in my Discord. I'm not one of those influencers who has a Discord, but you never see me. I don't engage. I'm up here and y'all are down here. We have meetings. I be in there chopping it up. Y'all know more about me, like my life outside of YouTube, in my Discord. There's pictures I post on Discord I would never post on, Instagram or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I'm really in my Discord. I'm really where my fans are at, just like my YouTube membership and things like that. So it's like I would never raise those prices. Like I said, when I started it, it was $5 and that's it. I'm not going to raise it. Even though I could charge $25, $50 a month like a lot of these other influencers do. But I'm like, no, I always want it to be affordable, for those who just want to, send extra to help or, who just like that type of community. I always want to keep it affordable. So it's very funny that you're asking people who may or may not be struggling, who may or may not be laid off, who are all going to be dealing with tariffs, to give you $100 a month. No. You was better off just doing the $5 and seeing, who's willing to support there. But it's like, you just got to understand the times that we're living in. And especially a lot of this stuff that he got himself into, it seems like it was self-induced. You're buying buildings, you're making all these big purchases with the hopes that the money's going to last. You always got to look at stuff like, in the event I don't have this stream of income coming in, do I have enough over here? What else can I do? And he says he has multiple streams of income, so for the most part, he should be good. But the problem is when you're paying all of these people. It's a lot to pay people. It's a lot to take on people because then you are responsible for them. You know what I'm saying? Their livelihood. That is a lot of pressure. That is a lot of stress. So, and I think that that's why sometimes the more corporate type of, YouTube commentators like the Fed TVs and stuff, they look down on the regular homegrown people because we don't have a lot of overhead. So they feel away. That's why he has no problem trying to strike down people's content and take down people's Instagrams, being petty. Don't get mad because you got to pay, Sally, Sue, and James. That ain't got shit to do with us. So I just thought it was interesting. I thought, I had seen that early before I got online. I'm like, oh, hell no, not them going broke and struggling and starting memberships and Patreons. But you're going to see a lot more of that. You're going to see a lot more content creators. And again, and I support people. I support a lot of people on Patreon. Especially if you are an editor, you take your content seriously, you will get my money every month like a cable bill. So I support a lot of people, especially ones who, may not make, like truthers. I support a lot of truthers. People who may not get the money, they may not get, they may get demonetized a lot on YouTube. Then I support them on other platforms. If they have a website where you can send money, I send money to people. Because I figure if I can pay for cable and pay for this and that, and I'm enjoying somebody's content and enjoying the work that they put in, I'm supporting you, period. So I pay it forward all the time. But you're going to just see that. As times are getting harder, you're going to see that. But the difference is, I think a lot of these influencers, unfortunately, have bit themselves in the ass. Because you can't sit up here for years and act like you're better than the fans who got you to where you're at, and then in the same breath come back and ask these fans to help continuing to fund your lifestyle. No, you should have been smart with your money. Because, yeah, Jake Paul bet not ever start a GoFundMe. As rich as he is, he better not ever start a GoFundMe.
You want the latest news in the streets? Join us and tune in for the tea. Breaking news with integrity. So tell your friends and your family. It's the Lovelyti TV show. Bringing you good tea and good vibes. It's the Lovelyti TV show. Be sure to share, like, and subscribe.